All right, g'day, hi, and welcome here. Sorry, got my Dimebag Darrell pedal. That's coming up for review again. Only this time through the Hot Rod Deluxe and the Mesa Boogie cab. Should be crazy. All right, going to make a really bold statement here. You should never ever attempt to build your own home recording studio. Okay, I'm kidding. So that'll be the title of the video, something along that lines. And the goal isn't to tell people don't start your own home studio. My goal is kind of be more towards things to think about. And what you're looking at here is a BR 1200 by Boss from 2006. Now, I bought that in 2006. I think tax and all was around $1,600, $1,200 to $1,600, whatever it was at the time. And there's a few variations of it. There's the 1600, which is 16 channels. This is the 1200, which is 12 channels. But really, it's 10 channels, and then you got your bounce track right here with channel 11 and 12. But it's all stereo channels. It has a whole bunch of effects basically built into it. You got guitar effects galore, speaker cabinet, simulators, vocal effects. You have reverbs. You have what you call it, delays. You have stereo chorus, that kind of stuff. You got all kinds of stuff. Bass simulator, so you can turn your guitar into a bass, so to speak. So it has everything. Drum beats, it does have a drum section, which is almost impossible to figure out. And you can actually make your own drum beats in this, right? However, I've had this since 2006. I've read the manual, which is about that thick, 3 or 4 times, and I can't get it to work to satisfactory. We'll just say that. So I mainly use it just as a drum machine, just to jam along with. So most of my songs, it's the same drum beat the whole way through, which is kind of boring. I get that. It's not, obviously not realistic, but just for song ideas, I do that. So I will have to get acoustic drums. You have 2 Phantom Power XLR in the back for mics. Pull this out, those things. Let's see if we can get that back in there. Oh, where was it? Oh, I lost it. And you can record 2 instruments at a time. A guitar and a mic. You could have 2 mics. You could have 2 guitars, or a guitar and a bass, whatever. There's also MIDI inputs for like keyboards and stuff like that. So it is quite the machine for the money. No ifs, no ands, no buts. And it can produce okay results, but it will never be a $10,000 studio. It will never be a $50,000 studio. It'll never be, pick your favorite artist. It'll never be as good as what they usually can achieve. Unless we're talking stuff that's really old. Like, this can pretty much record better sounds than, say, like, bands from the 1960s or something like that. But this kind of gives you, pretty good sounds. You can master with it. You can do all kinds of stuff. So basically, it is a full studio, full range of everything you would do in a studio in a portable studio. Now, this is dated technology, so you can't really run it to your computer and see what your files are doing and stuff like that. It's just a little bit before that kind of technology, so it doesn't do that. So most people are moving away from these consoles, which I really do like these, because knobs and dials are a lot easier than menus, right? But it does have limitations. So as good as I can get with this for ideas, it will record the sound as good as the mic you're using, as the internal sounds, like the internal effects, are a little bit cheesy and cheap. I've played around with them a bit, and you can get okay sounds with them. But you can also hook like newer effects processors and stuff like that to this kind of a machine, and you'll be fine. Like you can get whatever the most modern effects vocal or guitar or bass or whatever processor that you can think of. You can hook it to this. So the good news in that is that it's all in one unit, right? But it's getting old, it's getting dated, so there's limitations to how well I can master songs. Like at some point it just does come down to skill level, but at some point too there's also limitations of the equipment. So for me to upgrade from this, okay, maybe you find one of these things used, and if you did, my sister picked one up I think for about $250, right? And at that price it's definitely a steal, but you're still not going to get professional studio quality out of it. You just never will. You'll get pretty darn close. You'll get audible songs that sound good, but you'll never get like, you'll never be that next level with it. And that's okay. I mean, you can't expect, next level stuff for that. Which brings me to kind of the point why I'm going on about this. I'm not really trying to sell you on the idea of the BR1200. What I'm selling you on the idea of is the buy-in rate for this was $1,200 to $1,600 new. Used, if you go with this, you're still looking at about $250. So if you can get away with $250, yeah, definitely do it, right? But a home studio doesn't end here. This is just the interface that you're using, right? So let's say you've got nothing and you want to start a home studio. Well, you're probably not going to be going after something like this as much. You're probably going to have to get a computer if you don't already have one. And then you got to get a DAW, what you're going to work, A lot of people go with GarageBand or Logic Pro, stuff like that. But if you want to get those things, I mean, a computer, even if you get a cheap computer, you're still at $500-600, right? Typically, maybe you get a used laptop or whatever, or most people would already have it. So you get a laptop, but now you got to buy an audio interface, which, you're going to spend a couple $100 there. So you're already a couple $100 in on the audio interface. And then, depending on how many plugins or whatever you're going to plug into there, if you've already got guitar equipment, no problem, but you're only limited to whatever your guitar equipment can do. So if you got, an effects pedal, if this is the only distortion pedal you have, that's all you have, right? So you're not going to be able to add reverb, you're not going to be able to add other things. So if you have a multi-effects processor, okay, fine, but if you don't, then you got to go out and buy that. If you're going to be playing straight through the amplifier, now you got to get mics. So now you're looking at another couple of $100. So before you know it, like if you were to get everything used, you might be able to do it for, say, $1,000. Because it's hard to say a price because, especially with used equipment, you might get the deal of the century. Most people don't, right? But you're going to need more than one thing. You're going to need mics, you're going to need cables, you're going to need. So before you know it, you're up at the $2,000 mark and you're still getting this, right? You're at the $3,000 mark, you're still getting this. You're at the $10,000 mark, you're getting slightly better than this. So what I would say is try to keep your recording on the cheap as much as possible. And, you got to build it over time. Then once you got all the equipment that you're just going to record with, all right, the stuff you're going to use, then there's another problem, room treatment. Most people that record at home don't have a treated room. I don't. I'd like to, but, I don't have a dedicated studio here, right? So another problem you run into, once you start getting into sound treatment, before you know it, you got 20 grand into a studio. And you say, oh, you could do it cheaper, you can cheat and use this, and you can cheat and use that. And the cheats get the job done to a degree, but again, it never gets you, and I'm not saying you have to buy the best of the best of the best of the best, or the most expensive, or whatever that means, right? But what I'm saying is that you're going to spend a lot of money, and you're only going to achieve that much, right? So how do you spend your money for recording? Well, I would look at it in two ways. Is if you can keep the recording on the cheap and be okay with the idea that you're not going to get the best sounding, the best sounding productions, whatever, and just use it as an ideas machine. When you get your really good ideas, go to a professional studio. Yeah, it'll cost you a bit of money, but you're probably still going to save money in the long run if you, like, for example, if I had a really, really good song and I went and spent it and it cost me $1,200 to $1,600 to record that song in a studio somewhere, that wouldn't be very cost effective, right? Unless a song could make you money, right? So most songs you're going to write are not going to make you money. That's just the reality. I write a lot of songs. Trust me, they don't make me much money. They don't really make me any money. But I write a lot of songs just because it's fun to do. So I don't take it to the level of, massive investment. But when I do get songs that I really, really like, and it's like, okay, yeah, these songs are starting to resonate and they are doing well, then maybe it is worth it to go into a studio and have them done professionally. And for the little bit of investment that you're going to make in that studio, you might make money off of that later on. So for me, the way I'm looking at my music for 2024 is writing songs, making videos, putting the song to the video, right? And of course, everything's done on the extreme cheap. My main recording cameras are my GoPros